Instant gratification. Everybody wants it, not everybody gets it. We're going to talk about why West Virginia fans need to remain patient under Rich Rodriguez here today on BTE. Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of Between the Eers. I'm Schuyler Callihan. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. We greatly appreciate all the support. It helps us in the algorithm world and all that stuff. YouTube really likes it, so we just ask you to do that, and we'll be able to keep these videos coming to you every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday throughout the football season. The Walk Thru GameDay Show will be returning this week, as Eugene and I will be breaking down that matchup between West Virginia and UCF, and we'll also have the Mountaineer Postgame Show shortly after things wrap up on Saturday. And as you know, if you're a regular viewer or listener of the show, every Sunday is usually the morning after episode where we really kind of dive in deeper on one aspect of that weekend's game. Of course, with the bye week, thank God, we were able to take a step back and not have to watch the Mountaineers play for a week. It was just a much needed break, I think, for everybody. So I hope you enjoyed the stress-free Saturday. I know I certainly did. Was able to do some fall festivities and stuff with my daughter and my wife, so that was a lot of fun. But we'll get back into our regular swing of things here. And today, instead of talking about a game that didn't happen, I do want to talk about something that did happen, and all these opinions that keep getting floated around about this, and that is Curt Cignetti. Everyone just assumes that the West Virginia guy, the guy that has some ties to the program, played at WVU, that he would have been the guy for West Virginia, or should have been the guy for West Virginia. And there's a lot of reasons why he's not. There's a lot of reasons why he may not have been. But I think it's a very unfair comparison when you take a look at what he's done in his first year and change compared to what Rich Rod's done here. And it's not – it would have been the same conversation if West Virginia hired somebody else instead of Rich Rodriguez. The two just don't line up. First of all, the schedule. I mean, it's not even – it's night and day. Year one under Cignetti, this is who they played in the non-conference. You ready for this? Florida International. No, not an airport, the school. Western Illinois, another directional school. Charlotte, who is atrociously bad. I can promise you that. And then in Big Ten play, this is who they had. UCLA, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. Many of those teams were not very good. Now compare that to West Virginia, playing an okay Ohio team, but that Ohio team was better than any of the non-conference opponents that Indiana had. Throw Pitt into the mix. And then, get the Big 12 play. Kansas, BYU, Utah, TCU, Arizona State, Texas Tech. You can even throw Houston in the mix for that matter. The schedules don't compare. You cannot sit there and expect the same type of results in year one for Rich Rod as you probably may have had for Cignetti in year one in Bloomington. I mean, the schedule was a cakewalk last year for Indiana. There's a reason why they were beating everybody by 2 or 3 scores last year. It's not because Indiana was this great, amazing, elite team. Were they good? Yes. They were a very good team. But it showed up when they played actual talent last year. They got boat raced by Ohio State, and then they lost to Notre Dame in the playoff in a game that they really didn't have much business being in, but it ended up being a 10-point game. But still, now you're seeing this kind of carry over into year two, and I think this is more of an indication of them actually turning the corner than it was last year. Because you go on the road, you beat a good Oregon team. They've shown some things here. And I think, too, when you have that type of success in year one, you get everybody's attention. You get another quarterback in Fernando Mendoza who is really, really good. They got a couple of other transfer portal pieces. But it all goes back to the starting nucleus that he had. Folks, when he left JMU to go to Indiana. He brought, I want to say 15, 16 players with him. And they weren't just some 15, 16 dudes. Like they were legit dudes. Okay? Rich Rod brought 5 or 6, I think the number's 6, from Jack State with him to Morgantown. But only 2 of them are dudes, Cam Vaughn and Fred Perry. Outside of that, they're role players, depth pieces, you know? So that doesn't compare. So we can't have this comparison in saying, well, why isn't Rich Rod having the same level of success as Cignetti? Why is he having that success this early on? Why can't West Virginia? It's not comparable. I get it. Everybody wants to have that instant gratification, but the reality is more often than not, what you're seeing here in year one with Rich is what happens in year one. What happens in Bloomington a year ago is very, very rare. Very rare. Indiana, first year with Sonny Dykes at TCU, and what else? Crickets, right? Doesn't happen very often. So I'm not here to say that they're going to be Big 12 championship contender type of a team next year, but the future isn't as bleak as people think it is. Again, remember where this program was when he took it over. They were getting blown out by Texas Tech in year 6. Year 6. Neal Brown had to go, and I think everyone understands that. But what people don't realize, or maybe have an inability to do, is to separate what happened last year and the last 6 years compared to this first year with Rich. It's like we just kind of lump it all together because we've all seen it. We've seen these last 7 years, and it just feels like it's all the same, and it's the same operation, it's the same disappointment. I get that as a fan. I understand your perspective. I understand the fans' perspective of this. I do. But when you bring in Rich, he wasn't here for the last 6 years. This is a year one started over rebuild. This isn't a reload, a retool, just got to plug in a few different pieces, press the right buttons, and boom, you go from a 5-win team to an 8 or 9-win team. That's not the case. He missed an entire high school recruiting class. He had to bring in over 80 players through the transfer portal. I hate to tell you guys, but look, when you've got such a long shopping list, you can't just go spend top tier money at every position. You have to spread that money out. So each year that Rich is here, that net that he has to cast is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter, which means the price that he can pay for certain players at certain positions can go up. Not in year one. Now, what is maybe something that we can look at, and I did this and put this in an article the other day when Ren talked about his thoughts on the future of the program. If you just go back since 2020, so the last 5 years in the Big 12, when coaches have been hired, the trend is they really struggle in year one, but then they bounce back in year two. Obviously, there's a couple of exceptions here, but let's just run through this list. Arizona, Brent Brennan, 4-8 in year one. He's already got 4 wins this year. Kenny Dillingham, 3-9 in year one. You saw what happened last year. Big 12 championship, go to the college football playoff. Dave Aranda, 2-7. Year 2, 12-2, Big 12 championship, and so on. Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati, 3-9 and then 5-7. Wasn't a huge step as the first 2 guys, but he took a step forward. And now you see where they are this year. Deion Sanders, 4-8 to 9-4. Willie Fritz, 4-8 in year one. Lance Leipold, 2-10 and 6-7. I mean, that's about as impressive as a jump as you're going to find. And then the 2 outliers, Sonny Dykes, 13-2 and 5-7. and Joey McGuire at Texas Tech, 8-5 and 7-6. And I would say, and I know I kind of just got on people about the hypotheticals, but this is not maybe as deep of a hypothetical because in year two under Texas Tech, I think most expected them to turn the corner then, but they had injuries and at key spots. If you remember, Tyler Shuck got injured in that West Virginia game, and that started the quarterback questions for them. They obviously eventually settled on Bear Morton. If they stay healthy, I don't know that they go 7-6. I really don't. But when you look at, again, the data, it shows year one is a struggle in this league. Year two, you take a step forward. What that step forward looks like, I have no idea. Does this team finish 4-8 this year? Do they finish 3-9, 2-10? I don't know. Does the step look like 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3? Dare I say? I don't know. But one thing has been true about this trend is that you're going to see some progression and some improvement, and it makes sense. He's going to have a full recruiting class in high school. He's going to have an idea as to what the team needs are. He's not going to have to just go out and fill a roster. That's what his whole objective was this past all season. He just had to have enough bodies to be able to fill out a team in practice. So when you go to the portal this year, you know what you need. It's pretty obvious, right? When he got here, he had no clue what he needed. He needed everything, technically. So just be patient. I understand the frustration because, again, from your perspective as the fan, you're looking at this holistically and looking at the past 6 years and throwing that into the mix with this. You can't. You got to draw that line. The moment Neal Brown was fired, that's it. That's the past. It's over with. You can't combine those 6 years with what's going on here. It is year one. And more often than not, in year one, this is what it looks like. It sucks. It stings. It's painful. It's not fun to watch. It's not fun to cover. It's not fun to talk about, but it's usually what it is. So just keep that in mind. The Cignetti thing, again, not a fair comparison whatsoever. And I mean, he was not going to get hired here. In 2023, Neal Brown won 9 games. He wasn't going to get fired. That's when Cignetti got the job at IU. So could they have had him? Should they have had him? I don't know. That's a very huge hypothetical. If Neal Brown puts up another stinker and wins 5 or 6 games in 23 instead of 9, maybe, but maybe they look somewhere else. Ron Baker wanted a proven commodity if he could get it. He got it in Rich Rod. Cignetti had won, but hadn't done it at this level yet. Not to say he couldn't do it, but hadn't done it at this level yet. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section on YouTube. And actually, one more thing here. I've got to bring this up because I'm not going to do a whole episode on this, and we've got some football stuff to get into this week, of course. But the other piece of this being patient with Rich Rod thing is the money side of it, right? And now you get that support from the university. You get the additional scholarships. And no, it's not going to softball. I've written about it. I've talked about it on Twitter, X, whatever. And people just still don't understand that West Virginia is not going to add softball. It's not because Ren doesn't want softball. It's not because I don't want to see softball. Hell, I would love to see softball. There's a difference between wanting to see something and something making sense. There's a difference in generating revenue versus making a profit. Softball would not profit. It would be a non-profit program, essentially, and a non-revenue generator, just like the other Olympic sports. And as Ren has said, softball across the country is that way. So for him to think that they would be the one of the first to actually do that and be a profitable program would be nuts. I mean, let's just be real. Everyone wants West Virginia football. men's basketball, women's basketball, and so on to be extremely competitive, be at the top of the Big 12, be nationally relevant. They all want that, but at the same time, you also want a softball program. Pick one, because to start a softball program, it's going to cost millions of dollars. You got to get the scholarships, you got to get the facilities in place, the coaching staff, the training staff. You also have to talk about the scholarships, the room and board, whatever. It is a lot of money to start a program, and to start one in this era where you're having to scrap for pennies in the couch just to make sure you're competitive in the revenue driving sports is just nuts. It's nuts. You can't just have a softball program just to have it. At the end of the day, this is a business, folks, and you have to be smart financially with what you do. I would love to see a softball team. I would. 10, 12 years ago, I was in your guys' shoes saying, why can't West Virginia have a softball team? 10, 12 years ago, maybe you could have done it. To start it now, you might as well forget about it. And it's not just softball. It's any sport. Men, women, doesn't matter. You can't start another program right now. You have to put all your focus and attention in your resources in the programs you do have. The scholarship increase was not to build a softball program. This was to keep baseball where they are. This was to keep men and women's soccer where they are, at the top and nationally relevant. They're at the top of their conferences. To sustain that, you have to pour into that. To create a softball program, you're taking away from that. You're taking away from football. You're taking away from basketball. Even though it seems like, oh, you're not probably spending as much resources in a softball program. No, but the starting point, the debt that you would be creating is pulling from every other program, including football. You can't do it, folks. You just can't do it. I would love to see it. So don't get that twisted. But again, you have to be smart. And I understand other programs may have a softball team and are thinking about starting one, whatever. Good for them. But that's their decision. If they're a smaller school or a school in West Virginia situation, they want to start one, good luck. That's all I have to say. If you're a school like Ohio State or Notre Dame or Alabama, obviously those, they have programs, but still they have the money to do that kind of thing. West Virginia doesn't have the same resources. So you can't act like those programs. Kind of a Moneyball quote, right? You try to play like the Yankees on the chalkboard and try to figure them out and build like the Yankees on paper, you're going to lose to the Yankees on the field. You just can't do it. So, all right, anyways, getting off my rant here, going to go enjoy the rest of my weekend before we get into this UCF talk here on Tuesday. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on our page at West Virginia on SI. Drop some comments and your thoughts here below. I'll be sure to chat back and forth with you. And we'll see you back here on Tuesday morning. Take care.